Hello, computer gamers. This is Insomniac Andrew bringing you the fifth episode of from Dota 2 to League. So here we go. We've got three champions I want to talk about this today. Zed, first one. The thing with Zed, his basic ability is actually really strong. So let's talk about that one first. Contempt for the Weak. Basically, when the opponent is below 50% health, so kind of like the same threshold that Warwick has with his third skill. Now, but this is not just champions, though. It's all units, it appears to be. So it makes it really easy for him to last hit. So he's doing 6 to 10% of the target's maximum health is bonus magic damage. I'm not sure why it scales like that, but I would assume it scales per level. So as you get to level 18, then it's 10%. I could be wrong though. Perhaps it scales differently. If so, then maybe it's just random. Anyway, 6% is still quite a bit. It's only every 10 seconds though, so it's not as strong as, say, for example, Callista's second skill, where she can deal 12% of the maximum health as bonus magic damage. And of course that has a cooldown of 6 seconds. But then again, this is like, well, actually that was like her just level 1. I believe it's like 14% at level 2, 16 at level 3, so 20% at level 5 probably. I could be wrong, but I think that's how it scales. Anyway, yeah, that's not a basic ability. So usually basic abilities are not like incredibly strong. So, but still, this it really can deal a lot of damage. Just being able to do that percentage damage, which really makes me think, there's so many champions that have this in League of Legends. But in Dota 2, there's Zeus. Zeus has it, and it's a passive that he has, and all of his spells trigger it. So, and people really underestimate how strong Zeus is in Dota 2, but he's super strong. Anyway, this is a champion that's generally considered to be overpowered in League of Legends. So I find it interesting that, people typically don't see Zeus as overpowered. There will be some players that do. But, I find that usually the people that play Zeus play him rather selfishly. So that kind of has something to do with all of it. And of course, with all those selfish Zeus players, if you do get a Zeus on your team, a lot of players, they will want to be selfish and not help out the Zeus. So in that way, like when I talked about yesterday, or maybe it was a few days ago in a different episode, like Shaco and Soraka being the type of champions that don't have very good reputations. You try to pick them in various rankings, and it's really hard to win with them because your allies just troll you. That's kind of how it works with Zeus too. You try to pick a Zeus, and your allies tend to troll you. So whatever. That's just the way it works. Now, if you pick a Zed, they probably aren't going to do that. But Zed isn't as easy to play as Zeus. So let's just go into how the rest of his abilities work now. First of all, we want to bear in mind, and this is basic attacks that his passive is working with. So not only does it have a limiter of every 10 seconds it works, but it also has to be basic attacks, so it's not like it's triggering off of all of his abilities. So it's not very flexible, plus, like Zeus's passive, it's like there's no cooldown on it, so yeah. But, I'm not sure what else there's to say about that, if anything. Moving on. Razor Shuriken, that's his first ability he can learn. It's kind of about what you think. It's a line shot and goes through multiple units. Pretty good range. And then he can combo it with his second ability. His second ability lets him spin. This video even shows the combo. So it throws in, so they cross about the same spot. So of course this area and those areas it's like it's pretty cool. It's like, I don't know, I want to say it's kind of like X-wing targeting system or something. And of course, it depends on where the shadow is. You could make them go over here and make them both shoot at him that way, whatever. The way they showed it is pretty cool. But this ability also combos well pretty good with his ultimate. What a lot of people do is this actually makes him invulnerable for about 3 seconds. So you cast it on your enemy hero, and then of course you will arrive at their location, and or wait a minute. Actually, I'm not sure if I understand how the ability works. Let's watch the video. But I know I've used them before, so it's a little bit confusing. I'm not sure if they might have changed how it works. I don't know. Yeah, it's pretty confusing, but what I find what ends up happening, and what's really popular what people do, is they do the X thing, and they might use it to chase somebody, and that's fine. I guess what happened, the thing of it is, he has a shadow where he stands when he uses the ability, and so he immediately goes to the enemy, but I'm pretty sure the enemy cannot see him, and he can attack freely being invisible. I do believe that's how it works. I could be wrong. And at any rate, I think even towers do not reveal him. I'm not sure. It's or maybe people are just canceling it. I don't know about that, if you can cancel the dash or not. But it's pretty confusing at any rate. Maybe people will throw a shuriken to be able to deal the damage, and I guess this activates kind of like an Orchid Malevolence, where the damage triggers after the spell is over. So there's that. I mean, it does appear to operate like an Orchid Malevolence. So I guess it does seem like there's a variety of ways that you could use this ability. And of course, here's another ability that does some damage. It's just a simple spin, and it's like AoE, so kind of like Fan of Knives, or let's see, where's a Dota equivalent? I'm drawing a blank. I'm sorry, too much Warcraft 3 experience. Anyway, the point is the shadow also does that move, just like with the shuriken. So that's kind of cool. Now, one kind of bummer is that you cannot actually control your shadow, so it's not considered like a pet or whatever. You can't control it with the right clicking and stuff, but it can use your abilities, so that's pretty neat. Makes him a very fun champion. Look forward to purchasing him eventually. I don't think he's as strong as some people make him out to be, but maybe I would need more practice with him to think otherwise. I did pick up like Teemo, for example. I'd say he's about as strong as Teemo is. The reason why I own him is because Teemo only costs 1350 IP, whereas Zed costs 6300. If Zed costs 1350 IP, sure, I'd have him as well, but he doesn't. I feel like for the 6300 IP, he's not worth it. There are other champions that are better, but a lot of other people wouldn't agree. Anyway, he's a pretty cool champ. He's obviously pretty flexible, and he frustrates a lot of people because of his mobility and all that, because he'll after doing his damage and then he'll just jump back, and then the damage procs, because what if your team tries to help the guy, right, that's being attacked by Zed, and Zed's like, oh, I'm in danger, so he jumps back, but then the damage has already been done, and then the extra damage procs, and bam, the guy's dead. So pretty crazy stuff. Anyway, what other champions did we want to go over? Gnar, he's pretty complicated. I don't know if I understand him fully as far as how he works when he's in big form, but anyway, his big form and small form transformations, they are his basic ability. Alright, so from level 1 he'll be doing this, in other words, which is really cool. that the faster he attacks, the faster he will transform into Mega Gnar. That much I know. If you idle your champion, then his limit break bar or his rage bar, whatever you want to call it, it will settle down. It can drop down, so that way you don't transform. But I don't like that. I mean, I feel like you should be able to do more than just idle. So overall, I really don't like this champion all that much, but I do like the abilities that he uses in both of his forms. I just don't like the way that they forced me to control the transformations. I feel like maybe Gnar would be a really good support if only he had better disables, I guess I want to say, or if he had stuff to attack as a support, to be able to generate the big Gnar. But being able to have that flexibility and choosing not to go big is kind of cool. That's the thing. The only crowd control he has as small Gnar is his first skill, I believe. Maybe his third one is some minor. No, not really. Yeah. It would be nice if it was a mini stun or something, but how effective would that be in League of Legends anyway? I'm not really sure. So anyway, his first ability is his only ability that actually does anything as far as disables goes, and it's just a slow. So it's a pretty cool ability. It's a boomerang, but if I want a boomerang, I can just play Sivir. So which is another champion that has a boomerang. It doesn't slow, but it goes farther. It does way more damage. It's easier to use, and so on. I'm not sure why the video is not working, but I guess we don't have to watch it. So, and then if he is in the big form though, then it's a really sweet move called Boulder Toss, and I believe its range is actually longer than the boomerang throw, and it can go like through walls and stuff. I think, I'm not sure, but I do believe so. And then it stuns, or wait, no, is it only slow? Well, okay, it slows. Of course, both of the abilities do damage, and oh yeah, when you do throw your boomerang, there's a dotted line, and from the boomerang to your champion, or actually along the boomerang's path. So if you intercept the boomerang along that dotted path, then you will be reducing the cooldown on your boomerang so you can throw it sooner. So since the boomerang actually does have a really long cooldown, you want to make sure you catch it if at all possible, unless you have to jump away because your champion's in danger or whatever. Then that's fine, go ahead and do that. But I mean, it's funny because you can be standing like right next to the dotted line and it'll fly right past you and Gnar doesn't catch it. So you have to actually be on your guard as far as making sure you catch that, which can be frustrating actually. So even though you can throw out your boomerang relatively often, it's not a good idea to just throw it every time it comes off cooldown, because then that locks you into standing in a particular spot, and your opponent can take advantage of that. Because you want to stand in that spot because you can throw the boomerang sooner. If you do, it means he can throw a skill shot there and hit you with it. And if you see him lining that up and you choose not to catch the boomerang, then you're not going to have it as soon as you'd like to. So there's a lot of room for people to counterplay Gnar with this ability, I find, and that would be okay if that was all there was to it, but then you have to actually idle if you want to stay in your ranged form, which is pretty frustrating for me, so that's why I don't particularly like this champion. But yeah. On to his second ability, which is why I like his ranged form so much, and why I find it so frustrating that I can't stop myself from going into Big Gnar. His second ability benefits a lot from having high attack speed, because every third attack that he throws at the same target within a certain amount of time, there will be golden rings around the target showing you how many times you've attacked him. So 1, 2, and then on the third hit the rings disappear. So up to 2 rings will show, and if you haven't attacked the unit in a while, then the rings will disappear. So that's how that works. I think it goes from 2 to 1 and then 0. But at any rate, they will disappear one way or the other, and you'll miss your chance to land that third hit and deal the bonus damage. Now, this bonus damage is magical damage, unlike the boomerang, which does physical damage, by the way, just so you know. And the boomerang does scale off of your attack damage, and yes, the third attack on this second ability will be scaling by your ability power. That's not always the case. Sometimes when you're doing magic damage, it might scale off of physical damage, like in the case of Shaco and his third ability. It scales off of both extra attack damage and ability power, and it's only dealing magic damage, no physical at all. So keep that in mind. You might not always get what you expect. Some champions may scale off of AP, and maybe all they do is physical damage, but and then maybe it's not that case. At any rate, this guy will use attack damage and ability power, and he does do physical and magic damage. So that's pretty cool. And this is all in his ranged form. Now, if he is in his big form, which is melee, with his second ability, it's actually like a wide attack. I'm not sure if this video will even show it or not. I would assume it will, but first it might show the small Gnar. It's like a rectangular attack in front of him. It's not very far distance, but it's longer than it is wide, and yeah, I want to say it's good for a lot of damage to creeps. I mean minions, and it's nice for team fights as well. See it right there, boom. So I guess it's a minor stun. It's not really a big deal, but now with his third ability, no, I'm gonna skip that again. I'm gonna go back to the ultimate. So with the ultimate, he can either slow or stun enemies. So if he slams people up against a wall with it, then they will get stunned. Now, one thing that really annoys me about Gnar, actually a couple things. One is that his ultimate can't be used while he's small. So it's only used while he's big. So if you prefer the small form and you find a way not to transform into big, then you're not going to be able to even use your ultimate. So why bother learning it, right? Well, how about if Riot makes it so the ultimate can be used while a small form, and what it does is it lowers his limit break bar, or his rage bar, whatever you want to call it. That way, he can use his ultimate, whatever he does with it. Maybe it's another jump, maybe it just makes him do a dance and do nothing, basically. I don't care what it is, but maybe it's another boomerang throw. Who knows? But whatever it is, it's got to be like it reduces his bar, because that way you can choose to stay in ranged form. And anyway, if you do use one of these abilities while you're in ranged form and then you become Big Gnar, you can't use them. They're going to be on cooldown when you're in Big Gnar, so you're not going to be able to use them. So I don't see why not let this. It would make a lot more sense to me to let the small Gnar have an ultimate that he can actually use, and have it be preventing him from going to Big Gnar. Like cut off maybe 66% of the bar or something like that by using your ultimate. I don't know about the numbers, but how they want to do it. Maybe even all the way to 0, or even just 30%. I don't know, but there needs to be some way that it can be used while he's small, and that would actually help a lot of Gnar players in letting them be more mobile more of the time. Because sometimes it just feels like I'm punished for trying to boost my second ability, make it stronger, trying to build him a ability power. Gnar doesn't seem to work. So what a lot of people end up having success with for Gnar is by building like health items, magic resist items, armor items, is what they tend to buy, and they don't buy much attack damage or ability power. So he's not much of a damager champion, unfortunately. He just kind of like helps control the fights. And honestly, how controlling is he? He doesn't have that many crowd control abilities. He's just got the one slow that slows like one unit with his boomerang throw, and then he's got like a good slow or stun with his ultimate, and then he's got an average stun with his second skill, and then he's got a slow with his first skill also when he's big. So when he's big, he does have quite a bit of crowd control for sure. It's just it's nothing special. I mean, his third skill doesn't disable either, um, but it does deal damage. It's a jump. So if he's in small form, he jumps. If he's in big form, he jumps. But if he's in big form, he will deal damage on an area. If he's in small form and he can jump on a unit, then he will jump even farther. It's like a double jump. So that's basically how that works. It will proc your hyper, your second ability, in that it'll put another ring around their head, and if it already had 2 rings on it, then it will do that extra damage. So keep that in mind. It does synergize with the second ability, which is why I feel like it would be cool if he had an ultimate for jump again, and and if it each time he jumped, if that lowered his rage bar, with either his third ability or his ultimate, once you start learning your ultimate, that is, then that would be great, because then just jumping around a lot, that would really help you to slow down your transformation to big form. Because as it is, you just keep attacking small, and then you turn into big form. I guess that's what Gnar is all about. It's just frustrating. I don't know. I'm probably off base about what his ultimate should be, but I really feel like I do have a good point that the ultimate should be usable while he's small form, for sure. It's debatable, whether it should be like one of these abilities again, or something entirely different, or something that does nothing, or whether or not it should actually reduce your rage. But certainly you should be able to use it when you're in small form, whatever it is. That I know for sure. I'm not wrong about. And I don't know what much else to say about Gnar. He's a pretty fun champion. You can jump over walls both in small and big form with your jump, so that's pretty cool. Your boomerang goes through walls. I do believe his ultimate scales off of ability power. Some of these I'm not sure if they do scale or not, and if so, whether they scale off of attack damage or ability power or both. But I'm pretty sure about these first two for sure, and it's a pretty fun champion. But I do feel like once he gets an ultimate in his small form, he'll be just fine. He'll be a much better champion. For right now, I don't particularly like him. I don't have any plans to buy him. But he's still kind of a cute champion that's relatively fun to play. It just gets frustrating sometimes. So, third champion, want to go over this episode, is Lux. Now, Lux I really enjoy a lot. Unlike Gnar, she's got nice voice lines. They're pretty fun to listen to. She's always positive. She says stuff like, "I never think about losing," or "focus on the battle," and that kind of thing. And I just love it when a plan comes together, or something like that, she says. So she's all about teamwork, and fighting the good fight, and that's great. I like that. Okay, so let's discuss her basic. What does it do? Well, she's got 3 damaging spells. So her basic ability responds to her damaging spells. So when she damages something, that something will have a debuff on it. And it lasts for 6 seconds. And if she attacks that target that has that debuff within 6 seconds, then she will ignite the energy, dealing bonus magic damage. And this magic damage will scale with her own level. So this basic ability basically levels up as she does. Um, Now this reminds me, actually, now that I'm reading this, that I really do need to edit my build for her, and I need to be building static shiv on her again, just because either that or something else that allows me to do a basic attack damage on hit to proc this elimination. Just because that way I don't have to like stand around and attack like 2 or 3 targets instead of just one. You know what I'm saying? Because I think static shiv, you just attack one and it'll hit like 4 targets. So that can be a really good thing. Although maybe if I got rune-ons, then I could just keep on doing it and I'll have to charge up to static shiv. I'll definitely have to do some brainstorming on that. It's not like she can just pick up cleave because she's a ranged hero. I mean champion. So yeah, I've been watching some Dota 2 videos and StarCraft 2 videos, so I keep letting that word slip, but whatever. This is Dota 2 to League, so you should expect me to throw some Dota 2 words in there. As for how this compares to Dota, like, obviously, like, Gnar isn't anything like anything in Dota, right? I mean, it's like transformations. It's kind of like Lone Druid, you know, or Lycan, but not really because it's uncontrolled, right? And then of course his ultimate, you know, you choose where you attack. And once again, we've got this Lux thing where it's like the target is debuffed, and then if you attack it again, then you'll do damage. It's a little bit like Shadow Demon, I guess, because if you keep hitting him with your Shadow Poison, he keeps taking more damage. But at the same time, it's not really like that because it's not like exponential stuff. Anyway, it's a pretty interesting mechanic, honestly. And basically all her damage, you know, aside from her basic attacks, is magic damage. And her basic ability actually does quite a bit. So, if you're gonna get penetration, you gotta get the magic penetration. I do have like my runes. It's not only magic penetration, so I end up using it for multiple champions. See there, armor and magic. So I use the hybrid penetrations, and then I only have like 7 of those. So I have like 1 only magic and 1 only armor, and it's definitely not the most efficient setup, but I got these through like just buying like tier 1 or 2 runes and just like upgrading them to random runes and got these. So that's why I have these. So ideally I should probably have like 9 of the hybrids, 9 of the just magics, and 9 of the just armors. But I don't, because that's a lot of IP to spend. And I don't even have a lot of the champions that I want. So for a while, I'm not going to bother with that. But ideally, for Lux, it would be good if I had 9 magic penetrations, as you might imagine. Anyway, just because she does so much magic damage and not so much physical. So, where were we? We were only talking about her basic ability. Now, her first skill that she can learn, it's a line spell, and it hits 2 targets basically. The first one that it hits, and then whatever's behind it. See, it keeps traveling. Once it's the second one, then it stops traveling. Of course, in this case, there was only the 1 unit. So it's pretty effective. It's not really like Shackle Shot because there doesn't need to be a second unit, but it is an ensnare. It's not a stun, so it's actually like a combination of Shackle Shot and Frostbite from Crystal Maiden, because you know they could still cast spells, they can attack, you know. But if they're a melee hero and there's nothing in range of them, then they're not going to be attacking anything. Or even if they're a ranged hero and the range is too short, they're still not going to be attacking anything. And if they try to use a spell that requires them to move, then they can't use that either, because they are immobile since they're snared. So it's a pretty good ability. Some people really put too much emphasis on how good it is though, but it is nice. There are some skill shots that you could just like stand behind like one unit and it'll block that one unit will take the fall for you, but this is not one of those kinds of skill shots, and in that regard it can be kind of strong if people forget about how effective it is and how versatile it is, I guess you might say. With that said, it's still like it's a decent speed, so but it's still definitely a skill shot. So it's very rewarding to land these, you know, and you're going to be having your share of misses as well. So it makes her a lot of fun, I feel like, and keep in mind, you know, her basic attack range is much shorter than her first skill. So one thing that's messed me up a lot is I'll walk in too far to attack to proc the illuminate after landing the light binding, and sometimes I just need to either just stand still and throw my other abilities, or just run away after landing my light binding. Sometimes I just bite off more than I can chew. And that kind of reminds me of Queen of Pain. So if I were to compare her to any champion in Dota 2, she's pretty similar to her, just because it's easy for Queen of Pain to bite off more than she can chew if she's not careful. And of course she does a lot of magic damage. So, yeah. But overall, her abilities are different, despite the playstyles being somewhat similar. Now, she doesn't actually have any mobility skills, but the fact that she can ensnare others, and there's also another ability where she slows them down, it kind of gives her some sort of mobility superiority, because she's debilitating others, in other words, which is pretty cool. Now, her second ability is like really fun. It's great for team fights. She throws, it's like a wall. It's really cool either way, and because it's like a double, it's a double-edged wand. Light sources on both sides, so as you throw it, that's why it kind of gives the impression of an hourglass somewhat, but it like spins around and stuff, so it's a really cool effect. It looks really awesome. And then it gives her a shield, which there aren't many shields in Dota 2, and the ones that there are, there's no UI support for it. Like for example, this shield from Pipe is a shield, but in League of Legends it functions a bit differently than that shield does, because it shields you from all sources of damage, I believe. So physical, magical, and true damage, it'll protect you against all that. Whereas Pipe only protects you against magic damage, I guess. Something like that. So the shields in League of Legends are definitely more flexible. Of course, you could code a shield like that in Dota 2 relatively easy if you wanted to. They just haven't felt like doing it, so it's not like it's a limitation or anything. It's just they prefer not to. Anyway, there are a lot of champions that have these shields, and she's got it, and so it travels a pretty good distance, and then it'll travel back to her just like a boomerang. She doesn't even have to try to catch it like as for Gnar, he does. But her, it just automatically homes it back in on her location, which is great. So she can run around wherever she wants, and it'll come back to her. And on her way back and on her way out, any units that touch it are going to be affected. That are allies, of course. Allied champions, that is, I mean to say. It doesn't work on regular units or any enemies or anything like that. So just champions. So it's pretty easy for the champion to pick up that shield buff. It only lasts for a few seconds, but that's all it needs to be able to make a difference and really cutting down on the fighting power of the opponents, how much damage they can do to you. So it's a supportive ability. It's a lot of fun. It's kind of like a heal, but it's not really a heal. So, like if you're a full HP, you don't want to get healed. You'd rather get a shield, right? So it kind of increases the maximum amount of burst damage you can have done to you, and you still survive. So it does scale with ability power, as does her first ability. And so it's kind of cute because you can increase the burst damage that your ally can take. Like, he doesn't want to buy health items because he's an idiot, so instead of that, you just build ability power and you throw a shield on him, and that effectively gives him some health. Whereas if you were a healer and he just jumps in, and then you can't get in range to heal him, and then he rages at you, oh, you don't heal me, or your heal's on cooldown or whatever. She's got a really good cooldown for her shield, plus she can throw it really far to hit people that are jumping ahead of you. So she's a really fun champion. I feel she's really strong because she's pretty flexible, and she's able to really help out her allies pretty good. So I like that. She's lots of fun. Now her third ability is probably her coolest one. Like, even though the wand was so awesome, this one's even better. It's I don't even know how to describe it. It's like a ball, and then it explodes if you want it to. If you don't, then it will time out and explode anyway, kind of like a photic shield from Dota 2. Of course, this is on an area rather than a unit, and you can throw it into the bush, so you can see what's going on inside the bush. That's the really cool part about it. And unfortunately, it does not give true sight. I do feel like they should give that to her. If they did, then I would play her a lot more and probably succeed with her a lot more. But at any rate, it's still pretty fun ability. Yeah, if it were given like the properties of the pink ward, I guess, how I describe it to League of Legends players, then yeah, I would love her so much. I literally wouldn't stop playing her. I still like her a lot, but I do feel like this third ability should get some true sight on it. That would make her so much better. Now, so it will do magic damage like all of her other, like her snare does magic damage, scaling on AP. This also scales on AP and does magic damage. The second ability course will do no damage, so it will not proc your elimination. Keep that in mind. But still a nice supportive ability. This can save your butt, because in this area, units are slowed. And I think maybe if they're like just touching the ring, they're also slowed. I'm not sure. Anyway, and if they are touching the ring, you can activate it again, and it will deal its damage, and the slow will disappear. So for her, actually, the Rylai's Scepter is pretty effective, because with this third skill, you do the damage, and then they're still slowed for 1.5 seconds. It's a different slow. It's not your third skill's slow, but it's the item's slow. The item activates on the spell damage. So for a lot of champions, the Rylai's might not work very good, but for her, it works flawlessly. It's so good. Like, people get slowed if they're in the field, and if they try to leave it, you damage them, and then they're still slowed for 1.5 seconds. I just love it. It's a super good item for her. I should buy it on her more often, or rush it more often, whatever the case. Yeah, really great item. And then it gives her health too, which is helpful to give her some way to withstand burst in addition to her allies, so that's nice. And of course, the shield always hits her, so you never have to worry about like waiting for it to come at the end. Like, it happens at the beginning, so that's pretty cool. Now, her ultimate ability is really awesome because it's got ridiculous range. It's not global, but I mean, it's like it can go over walls, and it's awesome. So it's a straight line. It's relatively wide as well. It's actually a little wider than Gnar's third skill, I believe, when he's in big form. But anyway, it's relatively wide. It's not especially wide, but it's nice. It's got a nice width to it, and it goes really far. It goes so much farther than it is wide. It's insane. And so it's great for attacking people really far away. And if you do have the Rylai's, you're going to hit somebody really far away with this, and then you can slow them down for 1.5 seconds. So even if you're not going to get there within that 1.5 seconds to chase, your ally might be near that point, and it'll make it much easier for them to chase them down and finish them off, which is fantastic. So once again, another good reason to build Rylai's on her, because it really helps you turn fights around. There's like no damage reduction of any kind. Like, if you if there are multiple units, it's not shared. Like everybody eats that same magic damage, which of course scales on your ability power once again. And of course, it's a lot of fun. Just like normally you're just always getting frustrated. Like, oh, why do you guys gotta fight way over there, right? And you're this champion, they can't do anything about it. Well, you're playing Lux, maybe you can. You can just barely get in range to be able to snipe somebody, deal quite a bit of damage to him, and if you have that Rylai's, it'll make it even harder for them to like chase around your allies or to run away from them. In either case, it's a win-win situation for her. You won't necessarily get a win-win-win because you might not get experience that you'd like to be able to get. But in League of Legends, if you're dealing some damage, then you can get assist gold. You don't have to be near the target. So in that way, an ability like this can be very useful to make sure that you're getting the gold that you need to continue building up the items. Experience doesn't tend to be as important of a factor, particularly in the middle to late game in League of Legends, particularly since there are not that many levels for you to get anyway. There's only 18 levels. So not as big of a deal, and I'm not too sure about the mechanics on experience. Do you get that if you get kills? Probably. Do you get it if you don't get a kill and your ally does? Probably not. I'm not really sure. It's not particularly important though, like I said, because you level up pretty fast anyway. And that's about all I wanted to talk about for this episode. Hope you guys enjoyed it. Next episode, who will we discuss then? I suppose Lysandra, Nasus, and I didn't discuss Sivir yet, did I? So let's go over her next episode, since we talked about Gnar. And that'll about wrap up this episode. Thanks for watching, guys.